if your employer is telling your colleagues that that means you're anti-trans, then they're discriminating and harassing you, me. Calling people anti-trans is discriminating against them.
Women must have the right to question or criticise transgender identity without being bullied, harassed or discriminated against in the workplace. That's according to new guidance for civil servants. The Cabinet Office guidance, due to be published in the autumn, says that people are entitled to say that biological sex is immutable. Oliver Wright is the Times policy editor, and he's written about it in the paper today.
This is guidance that's been drawn up by the Cabinet Office that is due to be released in the autumn, which is really how in the workplace civil servants should deal with the increasingly difficult and vexed issues of conflicting rights, those people that are transgender versus those people that may have difficulties with that in the workplace. And it covers a whole series of issues, but one of the interesting things is what it makes clear is that people who have views and beliefs, as it were, that they can't accept that people who've transitioned from one sex to another are the different sex, should not be discriminated against. And I think that's the important thing. It really follows on from some words that were put out by the Equalities and Human Rights Commission last year, where they said that this is a case of conflicting rights, the right of belief versus the right to say that you might be a different sex.
Maya Forstater lost her job after tweeting that people can't change their biological sex. An employment tribunal ruled this month that she's to get a £100,000 payout. Maya is also the founder of Sex Matters, an organisation that campaigns for clarity on sex in law and policy, and joins us on Times Radio this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you think then about this first look at guidance for the civil service? Is it a sensible piece of policy or does it miss the mark?
The direction of travel on it is good. It accepts that people believe that sex is real and that those people shouldn't be discriminated against. But it's a bit of a dog's breakfast. It doesn't follow through on that thought all the way. So particularly around, for example, facilities, toilets, showers, changing rooms, it says that employers have to provide single-sex toilets. And if someone's transitioning, they don't have the right to use the opposite sex toilet. But then it says if they have a gender recognition certificate, then they do. And so that's just going to set up conflict between female employees who've been told you have single-sex toilets, that means single sex, and then employees that have a certificate, which the employer's not allowed to tell anyone about. But suddenly, a woman may find that a person they knew as Colin has changed their name to Claudia and is now in the women's toilets. And you have Muslim women, you have women with, who just don't think that men can be women, and you're putting them into a space where there's going to be conflict, and they haven't really worked that through.
So there's a problem here with people having to out themselves to be able to use or to have the right to use the correct toilet. There's also questions about the Equality Act, isn't there? So under the Equality Act, gender critical beliefs are protected, but the Equality Act doesn't only protect trans people who have a gender recognition certificate. So in that toilet instance, first of all, Maya, people could say, well, I'm protected without a gender recognition certificate by the Equality Act. So therefore you are discriminating against me. It gets a bit woolly, as you say, doesn't it, when you really start to claw into the detail?
It's not so much woolly as difficult. There's been a widely promoted misconception about what the protection against discrimination on the grounds of gender reassignment means. So what it means is that if somebody says that they're transitioning, they shouldn't lose their job, they shouldn't be excluded from training or promotion, those kinds of things, and they shouldn't be bullied or harassed. But it doesn't mean that their employer must force everyone else to pretend they've changed sex, because they can't do that. And so there's been a real misapprehension about what that protected characteristic means. It never meant that you're allowed to undress with the colleagues of the opposite sex, because those colleagues also have rights. And so the best way that an employer can protect both sets of employees from conflict and humiliation is not to force them into situations where they're sharing the same space.